You can say you have a glorious life. Yay! Yay! That's one of the beautiful things about being in unity. Most people can say that they have a glorious life. It's November, so we're looking at gratitude specifically. We've looked at gratitude within and gratitude for others, and today we're looking at an abundance of gratitude. How many of you have that in your life? An abundance of gratitude. Yeah, that's the way to go, and that's the best way to live. So most of us have three sort of perspectives in our life: the not enough, the enough, and the more than enough. Do you guys have that? You have some areas of your life where you feel like there's not enough? Yeah. Some areas of your life where you feel like there's enough? And some areas of your life you feel like, wow, I'm so excited I have more than enough. Well, one of the things that happens in the not enough piece is we look at there's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough space. And then sometimes we actually take it to I'm not enough. I hardly ever hear anybody say, you know, I don't have enough anger in my life. I don't have enough anxiety in my life. I don't hear that very often, but I hear a lot of other not enoughs. So that's one perspective to come through. Another is the enoughness. Sometimes it comes out like this: I have enough worry for both of us. So we have one foot in the not enough, because if I have enough worry for both of us, there's probably some element of not enough that's filling up that enoughness of worry. I have enough money to pay my bills, but I can't do anything else. Then there's the I had enough gas in my car to get to the gas station so I could fill it up. I didn't have to call AAA. And there's the I had enough money after I paid my bills that I could take my best friend to lunch. That's a fun kind of enough. So we can take enough and we can go either direction. The more than enough. We sing about that here on Sunday mornings. There's more than enough on a planet or in a universe that you created. Daniel Nahmod's song, you may remember it, I promise you. I won't sing it for you today, but there's more than enough on a planet of sacred design. We live in an abundant universe. So, oops, I thought there was another one. Not enough. So one of the easy ways it manifests. We live in a universe that is abundant, that's full of substance, that's full of supply, that's full of the energy, that when we utilize it, we can create lives that we truly enjoy. Oftentimes, the difficulty comes that we're not receiving that abundance. We're not letting it in. What's your favorite way to not let abundance in? Oh, what a beautiful talk. Oh, this something? Oh, yeah. You recognize yourself? We each have a unique way of not letting it in. And yet it's there, it's present for us. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, uses this definition of abundance: ideas and consciousness of the omnipresent supply and support of the one mind. Now this was written back in the 40s. Let me translate just a little bit for you, and let me translate for me too. Ideas and consciousness. Now the consciousness is that not enough, or more than enough. Of the omnipresent supply, we could translate that to energy. The omnipresent energy that's all around us, and the support of the one mind. That's God. Whatever name for God you want to use, put it there, it works. The beautiful thing in Unity is we can bring whatever name that works for us and put it there. So we have abundance all around us in the omnipresence of the energy that's all around us. When we get proficient at feeling energy, we can actually feel it. We can feel that substance. And what we can learn to do is hold thoughts, hold those ideas in our mind, and create from that. That's what we do. We can learn to create the things that we want to create. Believe me, I've created quite a bit in the not enough section. And one of the things I most love about Unity is when I started coming to a Unity church or going to a Unity church, I begin to learn how to redirect my thoughts. It takes some time, it takes some energy, but when I'm willing to look at my thoughts, my feelings, my actions, then I can actually create whatever I want. And I can tell you, since 2005, when I came into a Unity church for the very first time, my life, I don't even really recognize who I was back then, because I've chosen to engage in the principles, to engage in the way of being, to fall in alignment with what works for me. And you will find what works for you. Eric Butterworth, who was a minister in New York City for many, many years and has written a gazillion books, says that God can only do for us what we allow God to do through and as us. So whatever place that we stand on most frequently, whether it's the not enough or the more than enough, is what we are coming from. Those are those ideas that we're bringing forth. The beautiful thing is we can learn to bring forth different ideas. My mother used to say to me, money burns a hole in your pocket. Well, it doesn't do that anymore. That was her belief. And I took it on for a period of time, but then I started figuring out I don't have to live from somebody else's belief system. I can live from a consciousness of my own belief system. Is it easy? Not always. I frequently say, being on a spiritual path is not for sissies. It takes great courage. It takes great courage. I have a friend who was sharing with me this week that on Thanksgiving she invites people, friends and family over, because one time she had a Thanksgiving where she spent it alone and she decided she didn't want to do that anymore. So she started inviting people that she felt like might not have a place to go, or people she enjoyed. And now she has a rockin' Thanksgiving and Christmas and holidays. We have greater power than we realize most often, and we can engage that power, and we can change our lives. When I'm feeling kind of down, I'll tell Alexa, play some uplifting music. I used to have a cat that would dance with me, but he's moved on into another realm. But he and I would dance in the living room. Sometimes Mindy and I dance in the living room. Sometimes if I'm home alone, I'll dance in the living room myself. Get that music going, get my body moving. Now, I could choose to stay down. I could go watch something sad on TV, and there's nothing wrong with that, because those tears actually can be quite healing too. But my choice is to get myself moving, to get myself dancing, to get myself doing something that's going to uplift me. And whatever I choose is perfect. That's the cool thing. Whatever we choose is perfect. We get to be there. There's nothing wrong with being exactly where we're at, feeling exactly what we feel, and yet the potentiality and the opportunity to do something different is also available. And we will choose what we choose, and it's perfect whatever we do. Now, not enough, more than enough, how does that work? Well, one thing that I've begun to notice in the Hebrew scriptures and in the Christian scriptures, that there's a lot of modeling of blessing. And if we take gratitude and we turn gratitude into blessing, it's just another word for blessing, is just another word for gratitude. We can look as early as the first chapter of Genesis and find where God started blessing things. Depending on the translation of the Bible that you use, you can see where God created the heavens and the earth. God created light and pronounced it good. God created day and night, pronounced it good. Made the seas and the lands and pronounced it good. So day 1, 2, 3, and 4, the pronouncement was, and that was good. But when it came to day 5, God created animals, the creatures of the sea and the ones that walked on land, the birds that flew. And instead of saying, that was good, God said, and I blessed this. Gave a blessing. Genesis 1:22. So 22 verses in, God is blessing things. That teaches us something. And the 6th day, God created humanity and blessed that. Now, in the Hebrew tradition, a blessing says, I want to be in relationship with you. So when God starts blessing something, it's saying, I want to be in relationship with you. Now, we forget that we're created in the image and as the likeness of God, and that we are already in relationship. Sometimes it takes a reminder. Have you ever had a friend that came and said, are we still friends? Sometimes we forget. We forget that we're already the fish that's swimming in the sea. We're already in this amazing energy of life force. So we need a reminder, because we have forgotten. Another reason for a blessing is God's way in the Hebrew scriptures of saying to the Israelites, I'm going to take care of you. So not only in the beginning of Genesis, but also all the way through the Hebrew scriptures, we see evidence of God blessing. God blessed Abraham and Sarai with a child when she was purportedly 90 some odd years old. God brought Moses out of the opportunity to be killed based on law, and he was found by the Pharaoh's daughter in Egypt, and then brought the Israelites out of bondage into where they traveled for 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. That was a blessing. And the provision during that blessing was that manna came down, so there was substance every day. There's substance every day for each of us when we're willing to look for it. We might have to look hard some days, and we might have to look in an easy fashion other days. But the beauty of spiritual community is that we can come together and find it very easily on the faces of each other in spiritual community. And we can remind each other day by day that we are a blessing. Each of you is a blessing. Sometimes that's hard to receive, that we're blessings, and yet it's available. God also wanted the Israelites to know that they were blessed. So in the book of Numbers, this is what it looks like. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and to be gracious to you. The Lord lift up its countenance upon you and give you peace. Now we can translate Lord as I am. So the I am within us blesses and keeps us when we're willing to live from that I am. It's blessing us whether we know it or not. But when we're willing, we get that abundance of blessings. The other way you can look at this is we can translate Lord as law. The law blesses and keeps us. When we live in spiritual law, when we live in alignment with our spiritual principles, we are blessed. And we can see the outworking of that blessing. Now, Jesus also blessed people. Each time that Jesus healed people, there was a blessing. Whether it was go and be separate from your Creator, or whether it was the actual act of healing, there was blessing. Each time Jesus taught and spent time with the multitudes, there was a blessing, the blessing of being in that Christ presence. Think about somebody in your life that you absolutely love to be in their presence and how good it feels. Maybe you're having a difficult day and you walk into their presence and you feel your heart open up. Do you have somebody like that in your life? Do you? It's amazing. That's one of the reasons I like to come here. That's one of the reasons I like to come home. That's one of the reasons I like to spend time with friends, is to be in that energy of blessing. Now, the 2 Corinthians writer tells us that God is ready to overwhelm us with more blessings than we could ever imagine, and that we'll always be taken care of in every way, and we'll always have more than enough to share. Open your arms up. Are you willing to receive the blessing? We could be overwhelmed with blessing. I mean, can you imagine going up to your best friend and saying, wow, I've had so many blessings today, I don't know if I can stand it. You want some of mine? I got some extra. And you go to people at the mall, hey, I've been blessed so amazingly and abundantly that I'd like to give you some blessing. Can you imagine how great that would feel? It would feel so good to be able to do that. And that's what we have available to us, is that level of blessing. Now, do we need to do something? Yes. Spiritual practice, spiritual law works when we work it. And one of the people who came to the 9 o'clock said, and you're worth it.
Right.
Yes, we're each worth having that blessing. So, we got to do some work for it. Say that person who's been complaining about you and somebody comes and tells you, you know what so-and-so said about you? Bless them. Might not be easy. You might do it through some clenched teeth. Bless them. And you might need to clench, and keep saying it till you unclench your teeth and it begins to flow so it becomes so easy that it's like looking at your very best friend and saying, oh, I feel so blessed to be in your presence and I bless you. I'm so lucky. That person who cut you off in traffic, you might need to bless them. That person that complains about you, that criticizes you, that thinks that you never do anything right because they want you to do it their way. What a fabulous opportunity to engage in the practice of blessing. Simply blessing. So I'm going to invite you to think of, first let me tell you this. In Romans, this is the biblical strategy. People mistreat and malign you, bless them. Always speak blessings, not curses. In this day and age, I would say, always speak blessings, not complaints. Because it's quick and easy to complain about somebody. To say, I don't like the way you did that. Or you should have done it this way. Well, the person who does that to you, or the person you feel like doing that to, engage in a blessing. So I'm going to invite you to practice right here, right now. Think about somebody that you're challenged by, that you're struggling with, somebody that maybe you think doesn't like you, or maybe it's somebody you don't like. All of that happens. And let's say this together. Together, I bless you. I bless you for the goodness of God that is working in, through, and as you. I bless you. I want to be in relationship with you. It's a way of seeing the goodness beyond the appearance. And people are quick to criticize, so we can change the world by being slow to accept it. Instead, to be quick to bless. I want to be in relationship with you because I want to respond to you rather than react to you. You don't like me? That's okay. Because I like myself enough to engage in the spiritual practice. I recognize my own goodness because I'm created in the image and likeness of God, and I'm willing to bless you so that nothing comes back to me but abundance. This stuff works, you guys. I know from experience, and I know from my own history, but I know from the history of folks who are doing it too. When we are willing to live like this, the enough gets very small. The more than enough gets bigger, and we get to live in an abundance of gratitude. There was a man named John Carlick. I had to think of his name for a minute. His name is John Carlick. He wrote a book called The Simple Act of Abundance. He's a lawyer. He was really struggling with abundance in his life. He was really struggling with relationships that he felt weren't working. He was struggling with clients who weren't paying him. He was doing good stuff for them, but they just weren't paying him. So what happened was he was struggling then with paying his employees. He was struggling in his relationships. He was struggling with his children. Even though people around him said to him, wow, you have the best kids, he was struggling to be in relationship with them. So on New Year's Day, 2008, he's walking in the hills of Pasadena up above Los Angeles in California. And he gets what I would call a divine idea. He gets this idea that he's going to write one thank you note per day, a written one, not a typed email, but a written, handwritten thank you note one day, every day of the year. So at the end of the year, there would be 365 thank you notes. He had to create an Excel spreadsheet in order to keep track of writing on what he said to them, who he wrote them to. And within 30 days, his clients were paying him on time. Within 30 days, he started recognizing the blessings of his children and how blessed he was, how lucky he was to be their dad. He was beginning to see things shift and turn around. And he kept that up for 365 days and saw that he was truly living an abundance of blessings, an abundance of gratitude. His life transformed. If he can do it, we can do it. If one person can do it, it's a possibility for each of us, which I find inspiring and exciting. Abraham Hicks says, the fastest way to bring more wonderful examples of abundance into our personal experience is to take constant notice of the wonderful things that are already there. The abundance that we allow is always a perfect match to our expectation. And where we are in expectation comes, are we in not enough? Are we in enough? And maybe playing around in enough with foot and not enough? Or are we in more than enough? And willing to live 100% of our time in more than enough? Jesus teaches us that it's the Father or it's God's pleasure to give you the kingdom of heaven, living in that abundance with each other, spending time in prayer and meditation, and then bringing that energy out to each other so that when we see each other, when we come in contact with each other, we may not know each other's names, but we know who we are. We know that we are truly the Christ presence, the divine presence, the God presence, the universal presence, source presence, whatever word works for you. And when we come into that knowing, our hearts open. And when we come into a knowing of somebody that we struggle with, when we're willing to bless and bless and bless and bless, even if it starts through clenched teeth, we can open our hearts and we may surprise ourselves and come to a place where we think, wow, they must have changed because I really like them now. And we may just come to a place where we feel neutral. But we can come to that place. And when we're there, nobody can steal our joy. Nobody can take it away from us. Because it's truly us that gives it away. And we can live in that abundance of gratitude. So if you're interested, here are some affirmations. Let's say them together. I begin to bless everything that comes into my life as good. I improve every condition in my life by blessing it. We have in your bulletin today my 2018 gratitude list. We're not going to take time in the service, but I invite you sometime today, preferably before you leave, to put your gratitude list on here. And you can take it home if you like, but I invite you, if you want to take yours home, to make a second list. And let's put them in the prayer box. Because we know that in prayer things are blessed. And what we bless, we expand. So put on this list what you want more of. And let it happen so every single day we can come together. Every Sunday we can come together and share that abundance of blessings that we are. We'll also be doing this on Wednesday night. So you can do multiple lists. You can even compare Sunday's list to Wednesday's list and see what it looks like. Maybe it's different. Maybe things have occurred. What an opportunity to live fully, to live abundantly, to live as inspiration for ourselves and for each other, because we truly are worth it.